Good morning from Dollar Click Manager. Alan Smart, Citizen Smart here. You can even see in the clock the time. It is about 20 to 8 on Tuesday the 18th of October, and as far as I know, because I checked 5 minutes ago, Liz Truss is still Prime Minister. I say that not jokingly. My prediction, she'll be gone tonight by 5 o'clock. I actually think she will be gone by midday. She's a joke, a total joke, and nothing but a joke. Frankly, if she was a dog, you would go out and shoot her. And frankly, if she's got relatives that are in any way sympathetic to her as a human being, because I'm fucking not, they should just tell her to resign. That interview last night, humiliating. I thought the boy for the BBC, who I'm no great fan of, absolutely nailed her, but there were a couple of questions that she could have said that she didn't say. I'm not being critical of him, I'm just saying that you can't ask every question. He said, she kept saying, I have been elected, I have been elected, I have been elected. No, you've not been elected. She's not even get that into a thick skull. She was not elected by anyone in Britain. She was elected by the Tory party, who are less than 1% of the population, and she was invented by the worst half of that 1%. The good people, and as far as there are good people in the Tory party, voted for Rishi. The worst people, the racists, the xenophobes, the fascists, the complete and utter scum of society, the people who we do detest, more than detest, hate these people. They elected you. They got their moment, they got in charge, and they crashed the economy literally in about 2 to 3 weeks. That is the right wing, that is the far right. If you want to understand why the far right should be hated and distrusted and never given a chance, 2 words: Liz Truss. And hopefully that lesson will be learned throughout the world, where there's right-wing populists that Liz Truss chancing around trying to become Prime Minister or President for the day. Hopefully folk in France, Italy, Brazil, Australia, anywhere you care to mention, Austria, Lithuania, Ukraine, yes Ukraine, Russia, realise right-wing populism, it's a fucking waste of space, it's never worked. It's fascism in any other name, just because she looks a bit fucking dumb. I mean, look at who she appointed as Home Secretary. Braverman, fascist. Coffey, fascist. Look at that cabinet she appointed. She excluded basically 2/3 of the Tory party, and I'm not saying that the Tory party is a good thing, but there's semi-decent people in the Tory party, including Jeremy Hunt, I have to say, who at least have certain moral principles. They were all excluded. She lined up a cabinet of neo-fascists, and I would blame the media for this. It was the most right-wing cabinet ever in the history of Britain and arguably the Western world, and they were allowed to literally walk in a coup organised by, as I say, the worst half of the 1%. And the Queen appointed her. If you ever want an argument for a constitutional monarch that was awake and alive and doing something, she should simply have refused to appoint her, for the simple reason is Boris, and I'm no fan of Boris was elected in this levelling up agenda, which is basically kind of soft Toryism, which is saying we're no really Tory, we're kind of semi-Labour, we're centrist, and she was elected on a centrist agenda with that kind of buffoonery approach of Boris. It kind of obviously worked, because look at the results. And Boris got removed for good fucking reason, alright, for being too right-wing, for being dishonest, for being everything. And the Tory party's response to that was not to elect somebody in Boris's mould, maybe a wee bit more ethical credibility to him, was to elect someone who was the most right-wing, idiotic fool of a woman ever. She wasn't even a real Brexiteer. She was just a total opportunist. Really, somebody I've met folk like that at school. She's someone who agrees with the last person she spoke to. That's why she read some book with some right-wing economist who said, "Oh, that's a good idea. We can cut taxes and land the milk honey tomorrow. That sounds like a good idea. This is what I'll do. Growth, 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 growth." What a fucking clown. They even interviewed the economist and said, no, she misunderstood what I said. I said this is possible, but over a long period of time, no in frickin' 3 days. She's a fucking idiot. Honestly, she should not just resign as Prime Minister, she should resign as an MP, and I can't remember the name of her constituency. If I was actually one of her constituents, I would demand that she resign, purely on the ground she's such a fucking clown. She should not be out representing anybody. I said before, and I joked about it, but I meant it, she couldn't get elected to run a bowling club in Scotland. The fact that a lot of English Tories elected just tells you a lot about English Tories. It tells you a lot about the Constitution of Scotland. It tells you about why we should not be part of that fucking thing. They elected an idiot. They crashed the economy. We're all paying. She should go. She should apologise. The whole fucking shower of them should resign. And that's my thoughts. However, SNP, beware, because this situation is perfect for the Labour Party. It's perfect for the Labour Party UK. they have a 33-point lead, and if you think that Scotland's isolated for that, if you think when people see a 33-point lead for Starmer and the chance of a Labour government, and they'll forget about Blair, they'll forget about Callaghan, they'll forget about the Union, they'll forget about the vow, they'll go, we want the Tories out. That guy Starmer looks like that, and frankly the Labour Party could win a ton of seats in Scotland in the next election. They could conceivably even, hear me, overtake the SNP in numbers. A tall order, I'm not predicting that, but it's a possibility. They will certainly win a dozen plus seats. The vast majority of the SNPs, because the Tories have no seats to lose, the Liberals have very few seats to lose, and the Labour Party are really the challenger for the Liberals anywhere. So a Labour Party revival in Scotland, yes, under Arab Starmer, yes, under these useless bastards, blah blah blah, but it's very, very possible. What can Nicola and the SNP do to prevent that? Frankly, not too much, because in reality these are bigger forces. But I'll tell you one thing, don't be so fucking stupid to try and fight a plebiscitary general election referendum on the next UK general election. That is currently SNP policy. It went through the conference on the Nod last weekend. The policy, where did it come from? It was written in Butte House. I suspect it was written in Butte House by paid agents of the British state. Yes, MI5 agents are bound to be in there. I don't know who drafted the document. I don't know who signed the document off. I know the SNP conference signed it off, because the SNP conference would literally sign off hanging if Nicola Sturgeon proposed it. They're such a crowd of useless, sycophantic arseholes. But the SNP now has a policy which is to fight the next UK general election, to seek a mandate for independence through a plebiscitary referendum in which the SNP has to win 50% of the vote. Yes, 50% of the vote. That is SNP policy. That is the Nicola Sturgeon policy. That is what Angus Robertson has delivered for you. That is what you voted for, you dumb fuckers at the SNP conference last weekend. You have voted for a policy which, even if was implemented, would literally mean a complete and utter humiliation and a complete and utter rout for the SNP, for the Yes movement, for everybody. That's another reason why Nicola Sturgeon should resign, because she's fucking stupid. Why she's nodded this through, I don't know. I suspect she's told to by her minders. Read into that what you like. She's bought and sold, not because she's corrupt, but because of the salmon trial. She's done enough in the salmon trial to get her and everybody around her put in the fucking jail. I know that, and I can't say because I'm gagged, but more importantly, Special Branch know it. Special Branch know how to brief the media, and Nicola knows she's one media briefing away from being not just a former First Minister, but someone facing criminal charges. That is the reality of the situation in Scotland today. You may say I am a madman. I've been right on everything. I've called everything about Trust. I've called everything about the SNP. I am not a fucking fool. I'm a former head of current affairs, Scottish Living. I hate to bum up my academic population. I've got a double first in economics and history at Glasgow University. I've got 5 A hires, 8 A levels. I'm a fucking clever guy. Believe me, they don't fucking like me. Why have you not heard more of me? Because the SNP fear me, because they know I know who they are like, and I know where the bodies are fucking buried. Fucking all of them, Nicola. All of them. Including the Scottish Federation of Housing Associations. And you know what that fucking means. I know what that means. They know what that means. And that'll come out one day. I'll tell that story one day, and you will be toast in the names of every council house and housing association tenant in Scotland, putting your own political career, your narrow interests ahead of building houses for people. Enough of that. I've ranted enough. It's now not talking for about 5 minutes. This is my house. This is Dollar. This is the Dollar Burnside. This is a lovely place. We're predicted a nice day today. I'll be heading to Dunfermline to do a few bits and pieces, might do another wee report from here. This is the Dollar Burnside. I will let the brook trickle and shut up. This is my house, the green door, with the flowers, with the light. It's got its own clock. It tells the proper time because it's synced to a satellite as opposed to the old clock here, which is usually the right time, but it's an old-fashioned clock. It dates back well over 100 years. It's in honour of a local doctor prior to the NHS who dedicated his life and services to providing medical care to each and everyone, irrespective of their income. So he was pre-NHS, so good luck to him. And it's here in, yes, posh Dollar. Equally, Dollar Academy, a prestigious private public school, call it what you want, was founded as a comprehensive by John McNabb in, I think, 1802. And somewhere along the line it became a private school. So Dollar's not a bad place, it's just some people muscle in and as with everything, whether it's your bank, whether it's your phone company, whether it's everything, capitalism takes over unless you say no. But Dollar School is a decent school still for those who can afford it, but sadly even half the folk in this town can't afford it, and this is a pretty wealthy place. So enough of Dollar. This is the Dollar Burnside. Come and visit. This is my house. Incidentally, see this very site, this very brow, this very site, I've looked this up. This is to the north of the Forth. This is the Opal Hills, sorry I'll show you them, the Opals there. That's basically the foothills of the Highland fault line. This is the joining of Lowland and Highland Scotland. This is the very point where on the eve of the battle, that would be the 10th of September 1297, at this very spot, not Wallace and de Moray, but the army of William Wallace, which was a lowland army of rebels, have been abandoned by the upper class. The posh people all did a deal with Edward, said run away, let's settle, let's take some half-baked compromise. Wallace said no. He rallied the common people said we're with Wallace, not with these posh cunts. And Andrew de Moray, a similar guy who was more high up the social chain than Wallace, always a bit of a kind of middle class, supposed to be a kind of teacher or something, like kind of John McClane, yeah, a teacher, I like that, a teacher or middle class kind of guy, educated but not connected. De Moray was more connected up north, and he rallied a similar rebellion in the north, up Inverness. It's called de Moray because he's from Moray, but Black Isle was a kind of area. They had an army, they routed the English, everything north of the Forth. They met with Wallace north of the Forth, on this side, on this spot, not Wallace. I'm not saying Wallace and de Moray met here, they might have, but their forces would undoubtedly, their horses would have undoubtedly, the horsemen, the army, the troops on the eve of battle would have undoubtedly rested here, watered here as they say, on this very spot, and then went along the road here. This is Stirling, that's a straight road, the Roman road to Stirling, about 8 miles past Tillycootry, Alva, Menstrie, Stirling. This is still north of the Forth, and from that spot they waited and waited and waited and waited for half the English army to cross the River Forth and then smashed them! Won! The lesson is, have some fucking balls and you can achieve something. The greatest victory ever in the history of Scotland remains such, Incidentally, it celebrated the 725th anniversary of the Battle of Stirling Bridge. Was literally, when would that be, just over a month ago, 11th of September 2023. It was during the Queen's mourning period, but nothing to do with that, because there was nothing planned, nothing done, nothing whatsoever done by the SNP government. I'm sorry, that was fucking pathetic with the SNP government. Pathetic by everybody, but them in particular, to miss that anniversary. To let you know, the 700th anniversary was obviously 25 years earlier when Labour were in power. The Scottish Parliament had just been established. Jack McConnell was First Minister. It wasn't the greatest ever event that they put on, but it was bloody big. There were about 35,000 people, a paid event in Stirling on the 700th. Probably the 700th is more important than the 725th, but the 725th is not a bad anniversary, and given we don't all live that long, it's the only fucking anniversary most of us will get to see, or maybe we'll get another one in 750th, and the SNP did absolutely nothing for it. Nothing, not a fucking thing. Do you know where they are? We are down in London, forelock talking, sucking up the arse of Prince Andrew and all these people. I'm sorry, these people are either imposters or the most stupid fucking forelock talking, money chasing, Brit dominated arseholes ever, and I include Peter Morrell and I include Nicola Sturgeon, because they were down there hoy-toying with Charles and Di and fucking, what's their name, Harry and Meghan, superstarring, necking it, whilst in Stirling Bridge, Ted Christopher and a handful of folk for the William Wallace Society put on a fucking great event. It's on the internet, go and see it, but there were basically less than 100 people at it. It was done on the basis of goodwill by good people who, if given a chance, could do a far fucking better job running Scotland here and now, or independent, than Nicola, Peter Murrow, Angus Robertson, Shirley Ann Sullivan, Keith Brown, the MP for this fucking area, ex-fucking armed forces. I asked myself, he's more or less the same age as Keith. Keith's more or less the same age as me, slightly younger, but more or less the same age. And in 1979, the height of Thatcherism, the height of radicalism, Keith, who's not a poor guy, doesn't come from a poor family, because I do understand some people join the army for economic necessity. He wasn't in that. He chose to join the British Army. He chose to go to the Falklands. He volunteered for that. He's now the Justice Minister in Scotland. Put two and two together. Ask yourself, What is the mentality of somebody in 19... If you were about in 1981, even if you went, go and look it up, the police were unpopular, the army were unpopular, Northern Ireland was occupied, Thatcher was on the rampage, and this guy joined Thatcher's army to go and fight to liberate the fucking Falklands, right? He then come back and joined the SNP. He's now the Scottish Justice Minister. Put two and two together, work it out yourself. I already fucking have. Right?